Chosen one. The billionaire spirit was placed inside you long before you knew what money even meant. Long before you understood the weight of the word wealth. Long before you ever looked at your empty hands and wondered why they didn't seem to be holding what your heart knew they were built to carry. There is something in you that doesn't think small, even when you tried to shrink it, even when life tried to press it down. There's a current under your skin, a quiet intensity in your thoughts, a sense that you were not designed to merely survive, but to expand, to build, to multiply. And I don't just mean financially, I mean energetically, mentally, spiritually. You feel it sometimes at night when everything is quiet, that restlessness, that pull toward something larger than your current reality. Before we go any further, stay with me until the very end of this message. Don't click away. Don't let distraction steal this from you. There is something aligning even as you listen. And if, as you're watching, you feel that warmth rise in your chest, that subtle confirmation that this speaks to you, I want you to write your warmest wish in the comments and seal it with Amen. Just once. Not as a ritual, not as superstition, but as a declaration. Words carry weight. Intention carries frequency. When you speak your wish and anchor it with faith, you're not begging the universe. You're activating something that was already placed inside you. Let that wish be bold. Let it be honest, and then let it go with trust. Now listen carefully. The billionaire spirit is not about yachts or private jets. Not at first. Those are symbols, surface-level outcomes. The real billionaire spirit is the capacity to see value where others see nothing. It's the instinct to build when everything around you is breaking. It's the refusal to accept limitation as a final verdict. You've always had this strange reaction to ceilings. Whenever someone says, "This is as far as you can go," something in you tightens, not in fear, in resistance. You don't argue out loud every time. Sometimes you just nod, but internally you're already expanding beyond the boundary they tried to draw around you. Think about your childhood for a second. You didn't dream in small shapes. Even if you didn't have the language for it, your imagination was excessive. Big. Unreasonable. You weren't wired for a narrow life. And somewhere along the way, maybe you were told to be realistic, to tone it down, to be grateful for less. And maybe you tried. Maybe you convinced yourself that stability was enough, that blending in was safer. But the billionaire spirit doesn't disappear. It waits. It goes quiet, but it doesn't die. There's a reason you feel uncomfortable when you settle. A reason you feel almost physically irritated when you play too small for too long. It's not ego. It's alignment. A lion in a cage doesn't stop being a lion just because the space is limited. It paces. It feels the bars. It knows something is off. That tension you feel in certain seasons of your life, that's not failure. That's compression. And compression always precedes expansion. The billionaire spirit inside you thinks in multiplication. When you see one opportunity, your mind naturally jumps to 10 variations. When you learn one skill, you instinctively imagine how it can connect to 5 others. You're not linear, you're exponential. Even when you doubt yourself, your thoughts betray you. They wander into possibility. They sketch futures that feel almost too big to say out loud. And sometimes that scares you, because big visions come with big responsibility. Let me tell you something quietly. The reason you've been tested the way you have is because capacity must be strengthened before it is filled. If someone handed you everything you wanted 5 years ago, you might have broken under the weight of it. Not because you're weak, because you weren't shaped yet. Wealth, real wealth, magnifies what's already inside. If there's chaos inside, it grows. If there's discipline inside, it grows. If there's insecurity inside, it grows. So life had to refine you, sand you down, stretch you, force you to confront parts of yourself you would have preferred to ignore. You've noticed, haven't you? How your mindset has shifted over the years, how you don't react the same way anymore, how certain things that used to trigger you now just pass. That's growth. That's internal infrastructure being built. The billionaire spirit isn't just about acquiring. It's about managing, sustaining, expanding without collapsing. And that requires emotional stability, strategic thinking, patience that feels almost unnatural in a world addicted to instant gratification. Sometimes you look around and wonder why others seem comfortable with mediocrity, why they don't itch for more, why they don't question their limits. And you felt alone in that, like maybe you're the strange one. But you're not strange, you're wired differently. The billionaire spirit is uncomfortable with stagnation. It seeks leverage, it seeks impact, it seeks legacy. Not attention. Legacy. You don't just want money, be honest. You want influence. You want freedom. You want the ability to wake up and decide your direction without fear tightening your chest. You want to create something that outlives you. That's not greed. That's vision. There's a difference. Greed hoards, vision builds. There have been moments where you almost gave up on that part of yourself. Moments where disappointment made you question whether you were delusional. I get it. Repeated setbacks can make even the strongest mind shrink for a while. But shrinking isn't your natural state. It's a defense mechanism, and defenses are temporary. The billionaire spirit thinks long-term, even when the present looks messy. It can tolerate confusion because it trusts trajectory. You may not know every step right now. That's fine. Billionaire thinking isn't about knowing every move. It's about holding the larger picture steady in your mind, even when details shift. It's about refusing to downgrade your vision just because the timeline isn't clear. And here's something most people won't tell you. The billionaire spirit often feels like isolation before it feels like success. Because when you think differently, you move differently. And when you move differently, you separate. Not intentionally, just naturally. You start valuing time differently, conversations differently, energy differently. You become protective of your focus, and some people won't understand that. They might call you distant or obsessed, but you're not obsessed. You're aligned. There is a discipline forming in you, even if it's not perfect yet. Even if you still procrastinate sometimes, even if you still doubt yourself at 2 a.m. The fact that you return to your vision again and again says everything. You can't escape it. It keeps coming back. That's not random. That's assignment. The billionaire spirit doesn't panic when doors close. It studies patterns. It asks, what is this teaching me? Instead of, why is this happening to me? That shift alone changes everything. Victim thinking drains power. Builder thinking redirects it. And you've been slowly, quietly shifting from one to the other. You're starting to realize that your mind is your greatest asset. Not your current bank account. Not your current network. Your mind. The way you interpret events. The way you frame obstacles. The way you choose meaning. That's the real capital. Everything external follows internal structure. And maybe right now, you're not where you want to be financially. That's okay. The billionaire spirit is first a pattern of thought, then a pattern of action, then a pattern of results. You're in process. Process can feel slow, unfair sometimes, but foundations aren't built in public. They're built underground, where no one applauds. You've been underground for a while. Learning, observing, failing, trying again, quietly upgrading your standards. Quietly releasing habits that no longer serve the version of you that's emerging. It doesn't look dramatic from the outside. But internally, it's seismic. There's something else. The billionaire spirit doesn't just chase money. It creates value so undeniable that money becomes a byproduct. That's a different mindset. Instead of asking, how can I get rich? It asks, how can I become so useful? So innovative, so solution-oriented that wealth has no choice but to follow. That's power. Quiet power. And you've felt that shift. You've started thinking in terms of contribution, impact, systems. You're beginning to see that wealth is less about luck and more about leverage. Leveraging time, leveraging skills, leveraging networks, leveraging attention. And once you see leverage, you can't unsee it. There will be days where you feel behind, days where comparison creeps in. That's human. Don't shame yourself for it. Just don't stay there. The billionaire spirit recalibrates quickly. It acknowledges emotion but doesn't surrender to it. It uses doubt as data, not destiny. You are not late. You are not foolish for dreaming bigger than your current circumstances. You are not arrogant for believing you're capable of more. You are awakening to the scale of what was placed inside you. And scale takes time to understand. Sometimes I think the hardest part isn't building wealth. It's believing you're allowed to hold it, deep down, without guilt, without self-sabotage, without shrinking so others feel comfortable. That inner permission is everything, and you're learning it slowly. Unlearning scarcity, unlearning inherited limitations, rewriting the script in your own voice. The billionaire spirit inside you is patient but persistent. It nudges you when you get too comfortable. It whispers ideas when you're driving or showering or trying to sleep. It won't leave you alone because it knows what you're capable of, even when you forget. This is not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more of who you already are. The disciplined version. The focused version. The courageous version who stops apologizing for ambition. Who stops pretending that average is enough. Who thinks in decades instead of days. And here's the truth that might feel heavy but freeing at the same time. No one is coming to hand this to you, not because you're unsupported, but because it's yours to build. The billionaire spirit thrives on ownership, radical ownership, of mistakes, of decisions, of direction. You have more control than you think, over your habits, over your inputs, over your associations, over the stories you repeat to yourself. Small adjustments compound. A 1% improvement daily becomes transformation over time. You know this. You've seen it in other areas of your life. Apply it here. Stop underestimating the power of focused thought. When you sit and truly think, without distraction, you access something rare. Clarity. Most people never sit with their own mind long enough to sharpen it. They scroll, they consume, they react. But you're learning to think deeply, strategically. That's billionaire territory. This isn't hype, it's responsibility. The spirit inside you requires stewardship. Feed it with knowledge, protect it with discipline, direct it with intention, and forgive yourself when you stumble. Because you will. Growth isn't a straight line. It zigzags, it stalls, it surprises, but you're not the same person you were a year ago, or even 6 months ago, and that matters. Progress is sometimes invisible until you look back. So look back, see how far your thinking has come, see how your standards have risen, see how you tolerate less nonsense now. That's evolution. The billionaire spirit was placed inside you, not to inflate your ego, but to expand your capacity, to teach you stewardship, influence, generosity even. Because real wealth, when aligned, doesn't just elevate you, it elevates others. You are not crazy for feeling destined for more. You are not wrong for sensing that your current environment is too small for your long-term vision. You are in transition, and transition feels uncomfortable. Good. That means movement. Keep thinking, keep refining, keep building internally, even when external proof is slow. The spirit inside you is not a fantasy. It's a seed, and seeds don't scream while they're growing underground. They split quietly, in darkness, preparing for light. You're in that quiet splitting season right now. It doesn't look glamorous. It doesn't sound impressive. But it's sacred. And if you stay consistent, if you stay aware, if you keep aligning your actions with the scale of your vision, one day you'll look around and realize the external world finally caught up to the internal one you've been cultivating all along. And when that day comes, it won't feel like luck. It will feel like recognition, like something clicking into place. Because the billionaire spirit was never something you chased. It was something you remembered. There comes a point where thinking is no longer enough. Not because thinking isn't powerful, it is, but because eventually, thought demands embodiment. The billionaire spirit inside you does not want to remain an idea. It wants to become architecture. It wants to become movement. It wants to take form through your habits, your posture, your tone, your decisions when no one is watching. And here is where many people hesitate. They love the vision. They love the concept of abundance. They love imagining the future version of themselves. But when it's time to act differently, consistently, quietly, without applause, something tightens. Comfort whispers. Fear negotiates. Old identity tries to reclaim territory. You felt that tension. It's subtle. It shows up when you consider raising your standards, when you consider saying no to distractions, when you consider outgrowing environments that once felt familiar. Growth doesn't always feel triumphant. Sometimes it feels lonely. Sometimes it feels like you're betraying the version of yourself that learned how to survive. But survival is not your final form. The billionaire spirit was never designed for maintenance mode. It was designed for expansion. And expansion requires release. Release of small thinking, release of reactive ways, release of the need to be understood by everyone. Let me say something plainly. You cannot carry a massive future with a fragile mindset. That doesn't mean you must be perfect. It means you must be resilient. You must learn how to self-correct instead of self-destruct. When you make a mistake, the old version of you might spiral. The evolving version studies it, adjusts, moves forward without drama. There's a calmness forming in you now, even if you don't fully notice it yet. You're less impressed by noise, less distracted by comparison. You're beginning to value focus the way others value entertainment. That shift alone separates you. The billionaire spirit thinks in terms of assets, not only financial assets, but mental assets, emotional assets, network assets, skill assets. You're beginning to audit your life differently. You're asking, does this add value? Does this multiply or does it drain? And that question is dangerous in the best way, because once you start evaluating everything through the lens of value creation, your tolerance for waste decreases. You stop wasting time in conversations that shrink you. You stop wasting energy defending yourself unnecessarily. You stop wasting potential, pretending you don't see what you see. You've also started noticing something else. Money is not just currency. It's stored trust. It flows toward clarity, structure, and perceived value. The billionaire spirit understands this instinctively. That's why you're drawn to improving yourself, to refining your communication, to expanding your competence. You're not chasing money. You're becoming trustworthy at scale. That's different. There will be moments when doubt tries to resurface. It will question your timing. It will question your capacity. It may even question your worthiness. Don't fight doubt with panic. Meet it with evidence. Look at your progress. Look at your discipline compared to a year ago. Look at the way you think now compared to before. You are sharper. You are more intentional. You are less impulsive. That is growth. The billionaire spirit inside you doesn't scream for attention. It waits for alignment. It waits for you to think clearly instead of emotionally reacting. It waits for you to move strategically instead of impulsively. And here's something most people misunderstand. Wealth is not built in excitement. It is built in consistency, in boring repetition, in daily alignment. The glamorous moments come later, if they come at all, but the foundation is quiet. You are learning to love the quiet build. That's maturity. You don't need validation every step of the way anymore. You don't need everyone to understand your vision. You just need clarity within yourself. When clarity locks in, external noise loses volume. And clarity is something you're cultivating right now. You've begun questioning your own limitations instead of accepting them. You've started observing your thought patterns instead of being controlled by them. That self-awareness is powerful. It's leverage. There is also a shift happening in how you relate to risk. Before, risk may have felt threatening. Now, it feels calculated, measured. You don't jump blindly, but you don't freeze either. You gather information, you evaluate outcomes, and then you move. That's evolution. The billionaire spirit was placed inside you, not to inflate fantasy, but to anchor responsibility. If you are meant to hold more, you must become more. Not louder, not flashier, more disciplined, more focused, more decisive. Decisiveness is a muscle. You're strengthening it. Every time you choose long-term gain over short-term comfort, you are training that muscle. Every time you choose growth over ego, you are reinforcing the structure required for expansion. You may not see external results immediately. That can be frustrating, but internal upgrades precede visible transformation. Always. Think about who you are becoming. You're no longer impressed by shortcuts. You're suspicious of overnight success stories. You've started respecting process. That alone signals a new level of maturity. Because true scale requires endurance. There's something powerful about endurance. It filters out those who only want the reward without the responsibility. You're still here, still thinking, still refining, still adjusting. That matters. You are not driven by desperation anymore. You're driven by intention. That's a different frequency. Desperation chases, intention builds. And here's the quiet truth. The billionaire spirit inside you does not need permission from the world. It needs permission from you. Permission to think bigger without guilt. Permission to pursue excellence without apology. Permission to take up space in rooms you once felt intimidated by. When you grant yourself that permission, something unlocks. Not externally at first, internally. Your posture shifts, your tone steadies, your decisions sharpen. You stop negotiating with fear. Fear may still whisper, but it no longer dictates. And in that shift, power consolidates. You are not becoming someone else. You are shedding layers that were never truly you. Layers of doubt, layers of inherited limitation, layers of smallness that were adopted for safety. Safety is not your destiny. Expansion is. But expansion must be anchored in wisdom. And wisdom grows through reflection. That's why thinking matters so much. Not overthinking, not spiraling, strategic thinking, reflective thinking, future-oriented thinking. You are capable of that. You've proven it to yourself in small ways already. The billionaire spirit was placed inside you as a blueprint, not a guarantee. Blueprints still require construction. They require patience. They require daily effort. They require resilience when progress feels slow, but the blueprint is there, and now you see it. You may not know every detail yet. That's okay. Clarity unfolds with movement. The more you act in alignment, the more insight appears. Don't rush the unfolding. Don't sabotage the process by comparing timelines. Your timeline is tied to your growth, and your growth has been deliberate. There is a steadiness forming in you that cannot be faked, a quiet confidence that doesn't need to announce itself. You are less reactive, more observant, less impulsive, more strategic. That is wealth in its earliest form. Because before money multiplies, mindset multiplies. Before influence expands, awareness expands. Before opportunity accelerates, identity stabilizes, and your identity is stabilizing. You are no longer confused about who you are becoming. You may still be refining it, but you are no longer lost. You are aligning. The billionaire spirit inside you is not loud. It is focused. It does not rush. It prepares. It does not beg. It builds. And it does not shrink when challenged. It adapts. You are stepping into that frequency now. Not perfectly, not dramatically, but steadily. And steady is powerful. Because steady compounds. One aligned decision, then another, then another. Over time, those decisions become momentum, and momentum becomes transformation. You won't need to announce it when it happens. It will be visible in your discipline, in your boundaries, in your results. But more importantly, it will be felt in your peace. Because when internal alignment meets external execution, something settles. Something clicks. You stop wondering if you're capable. You know. And that knowing changes everything. So think, Not small thoughts, not fearful thoughts. Think intentionally, think structurally, think long-term. Guard your focus, sharpen your mind, raise your standards. The billionaire spirit was placed inside you, not as a decoration, but as a directive. And now, you are finally ready to carry it. Not with noise, with clarity.